Is it possible that all the information we have been given regarding the past is incorrect? All throughout the globe, ancient artifacts hide stories from us that were never meant to be known. Relics that contradict scientific understanding, buildings that cannot be built, and long-lost cultures. We will spend the next hour facing the unexplainable past. Another older, calmer, and much more enigmatic power existed before the Maya carved cities from the jungle and before Teotihuacan's pyramids scraped the skies. In the heart of Mexico's damp lowlands, a long lost. Upon emerging from the marshes, individuals displayed vision rather than a spirit of violent conquest. Empires were not constructed by means of armies. They constructed them with significance, symmetry, and monuments. They were themes, and they were transforming the planet into hallowed ground long before the majority of humanity started working with stone. Beginning as early as 1600 BCE, they were the first Americans to perfect the skill of city-making, which included building on top of mudflats, creating clay plazas for rituals, and lining up enormous buildings with the sun and moon. Night sky. The gigantic stone skulls that stood there, seemingly frozen in time, are what most people remember them for. What makes these themes so remarkable, though, are the unseen plans for ceremonial landscapes, engineering wonders, and urban planning that would reverberate through all subsequent Mesoamerican civilizations. This is about more than just the people who went astray. Here we learn about the spiritual builders who came before us, how sacred geometry came to be, and how civilization in the New World got its start. San Lorenzo was one of the first and most notable Mech centers. The Tenochtitlan civilization thrived from about 1200 to 900 B.C. He constructed atop a large plateau that was altered by humans. San Lorenzo stands as one of the earliest instances of intentional urban landscape design in the Americas. Through the use of drainage systems, man-made ridges and mounds, and river channeling, the Mechs remolded the landscape. Impressive given their lack of wheels, metal implements, and beasts of burden. Massive stone structures, expansive ceremonial plazas, and platforms, and what are thought by experts to have been affluent residential settlements. It was more than a city. It was a sacred landscape whose architecture reflected power, environment, and ritual. A cosmic worldview was evident in the city's alignment with celestial patterns and natural waterways, an idea that would later be echoed in the cities of the Maya and the Aztec. Looking at how these themes used water systems makes their architectural brilliance even more apparent. Underneath the city platforms, archaeologists have found meticulously constructed pipelines and vast drainage ditches constructed of carved basalt stones. The systems were probably built to manage floodwaters in the land bogs, and could have also been used for ceremonial cleansing, suggesting a profound symbolic and practical connection to water. This network wasn't built by chance. There is clear evidence of a governing body with the power to coordinate workforces, devise comprehensive strategies for the future, and keep everything running smoothly. Intricate engineering projects. This degree of urban sophistication is virtually unparalleled anywhere on Earth at the time, considering the civilization is over 3,000 years old. The Olmec civilization's epicenter moved to Levinta after San Lorenzo fell into disrepair about 900 BCE, where the intricate ancient city planning flourished and even reached its zenith between 800 and 400 BC. With its highly developed urban core, Levinta is among the world's most important ceremonial centers. Era's preparation. The Great Pyramid, an earthen edifice reaching a height of 34 meters, stood at its center. It was probably used as a stage for important religious and ceremonial events, as it was perfectly oriented to the four cardinal directions: east, west, north, and south. The city of Levinta appears to have been built as a small map of the universe, reflecting the theme's deep cosmological perspective, which is what gives it its genuinely unique quality. Incorporating symbolic sculptures, north-south axis, and the placement of man-made mounds. It seems like there's some sort of link between our planet, the underworld, and the celestial realm in every element. This place was meant for more than just living in. There, the material world was made holy, and the city became a metaphor for spirituality. The idea of ceremonial roads was also brought out by Voynich. Long, elevated walkways that link significant locations. These could be utilized for religious rites and processions. Later Mesoamerican towns like Teotihuacan would have large ceremonial avenues that were inspired by them, as well as Tikal, proving that La Venta had an enduring and significant impact on the development of Central American urban planning. There was order and organization in mech cities. The spaces were planned and executed with precision. Massive heads, altars, steel, and intricate platform mounds arranged in a grid pattern demonstrate an early knowledge of urban zoning that classified spaces according to function: ceremonial, administrative, residential, and performing. Monuments were strategically placed to demarcate entrances, provide sight lines, or serve as anchors. Within the city, sacred axes. The presence of massive basalt heads at key locations may have served both political and cosmological functions, reminding visitors of elite power while embedding them in a mythic worldview. Even more remarkably, themes transported these giant stones from as far as 80 kilometers away, likely via river systems. This not only demonstrates architectural ambition, but also hints at a sophisticated logistical network, perhaps the earliest version of state-managed infrastructure in the Americas. What do you think about Theme's ability to organize and transport massive stones over 3,000 years ago without wheels, without metal, and without draft animals? Are we underestimating the intelligence and engineering of this ancient civilization? Or was there a missing chapter in history yet to be told? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe they did it with sheer manpower, with a lost technology, or something even more mysterious? To Themes, architecture wasn't just about shelter or showmanship. It was a sacred act of creation. Their cities weren't just settlements. They were living myths embedded with symbolic meaning. Every mound, altar, and plaza likely held cosmological or historical significance, representing mountains, caves, deities, or mythic events. This worldview of myth as structure and structure as myth would deeply influence future civilizations. The concept of Axis Mundi World Center, for example, appears first in mech architecture and is later seen in Maya temples and Aztec pyramids. Although themes eventually faded from history, their architectural vision endured. The principles they pioneered, central plazas, aligned pyramids, ceremonial walkways, drainage canals, and symbolic layouts would form the urban DNA of future cities across Central America. Indeed, long after the last Olmec city fell silent, their urban logic remained alive in the monumental cities of Monte Alban, Tikal, and Teotihuacan. Even today, standing among the ruins of later Mesoamerican capitals, one can feel the echoes of the Alm Master, builders who first imagined what a sacred city could be. In sum, the predecessor phase of the Alm civilization was not a simple tribal stage. It was a burst of innovation, a quiet revolution in architecture, landscape, and sitem. Their vision of how human beings could shape their world, not just physically but cosmically, laid the groundwork for millennia of architectural grandeur in Mesoamerica. Themes remind us that civilization doesn't begin with monuments, but with meaningful space. Space designed to connect earth and sky, ruler and people, ritual and daily life. And perhaps more impressively, they did all this without metal, without wheels, without beasts of burden, only with vision, labor, and deep belief. Owing above the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon lies a riddle carved in stone. A riddle so vast, so heavy, and so precise, it has defied time, logic, and our understanding of ancient history. This place is Baalbek, once called Heliopolis, the city of the sun. But what it truly represents remains a mystery shrouded in awe. At the heart of Baalbek stands not just a temple complex, but a platform built with the largest stones ever moved by human hands, each weighing hundreds, even thousands of tons. No chisel marks, no written records, no known civilization has claimed its creation. Who built it? How did they do it? And why was such impossible precision required in a world without machines? This is not just a lost city. This is a silent challenge to everything we think we know about the ancient world. To truly grasp the mystery of Baalbek, one must look beyond the majestic Roman temples above and instead look down at the hidden foundation beneath, a place that holds a feat bordering on the impossible. Most striking are the three colossal stones known as the trilithon, each weighing between 800 and 1,000 tons, perfectly aligned to support the base wall of the Temple of Jupiter. Not far away, still resting in the ancient quarry, lies the stone of the pregnant woman, weighing over 1,000 tons. And even more astonishing, a recently discovered block is estimated to weigh up to 1,650 tons. Considered the largest worked stone ever touched by human hands. No known ancient civilization has left behind clear evidence of how they moved or positioned these massive stones. It is this silent, yet overwhelming presence, defying all conventional explanation, that has made the foundation of Baalbek one of the greatest unsolved construction puzzles in human history. These numbers are not mere curiosities. They represent an unresolved engineering riddle. To put in perspective, modern cranes can lift loads in that range, but only under very specific conditions, often using reinforced concrete pads, computer modeling, and advanced machinery. How then did a culture from over 2 millennia ago accomplish such a feat without steel, hydraulic systems, or digital tools? And more importantly, why there is no credible record of the Romans, who are traditionally credited with the construction of Baalbek's temples, ever using blocks of such size elsewhere in their empire. While Roman architecture certainly demonstrates impressive engineering, such as the aqueducts, amphitheaters, and massive colosseums, it never relied on monoliths weighing over 800 tons. In fact, their standard construction techniques favored smaller, more manageable stones arranged with mortar and supports. This has led many researchers to speculate that the megalithic platform of Baalbek predates the Roman era by centuries, if not millennia. At the heart of the Baalbek mystery lies a construction technique far beyond conventional understanding. How could ancient people transport a stone weighing up to 1,000 tons across rough terrain and place it with near-perfect precision? This feat required not only brute strength, but also deep knowledge of physics, gravitational balance, and material science fields we typically associate only with the modern era. Even more astonishing is that the flatness and tight fit between the contact surfaces reach standards comparable to modern machine work. So precise that a sheet of paper cannot fit between the stones. This is a level of engineering mastery that history has never acknowledged for that time. Do you believe there once existed a civilization with technological abilities far beyond its time, one that has completely vanished from history? Or could this be evidence of a forgotten knowledge deliberately hidden? Or perhaps something not of this earth? Share your theory in the comments below. Do you believe in ancient science, lost technology, or something even more unbelievable? Many traditional explanations fall short. Ropes, wooden sledges, and manpower, while plausible for smaller stones, become increasingly unlikely at this scale. The idea of rolling these stones on logs is rendered almost useless when one considers the extreme weight, risk of collapse, and lack of any evidence for the necessary infrastructure. No tree native to the region could support such loads without being crushed. In short, our conventional toolbox fails here. Some engineers have suggested advanced lever systems or inclined planes, but again, no. Archaeological evidence of such structures remains. Others point to lost ancient technologies, possibly involving techniques for softening stone, floating massive blocks on air or water, or even magnetic manipulation. These ideas, while speculative, stem from the deep inconsistency between what is visible on site and what known history claims. It is this tension, the visible versus the explainable, that makes Baalbek so unique. There is no consensus on who the original builders were. Phoenicians, the pre-Roman. Semitic culture, a lost civilization entirely. Some fringe theories even propose that Baalbek may have been a landing pad for ancient sky gods or extraterrestrials, suggesting that the size of the stones was intentional, meant to support vast weight from above. While such notions are often dismissed in academic circles, their persistence is a reflection of just how inadequate current theories seem when confronted with the physical evidence. What further deepens the mystery is the level of knowledge embedded in the design. The platform is not a random pile of large stones. It demonstrates meticulous planning, modular repetition, and geometric consistency. These are not the hallmarks of trial and error experimentation, but of a culture confident in its capabilities. An engineering tradition that seems to have vanished without trace. The temple complex itself, particularly the Temple of Bacchus and Temple of Jupiter, offers another layer of enigma. While these structures are definitively Roman in style and iconography, they were built upon pre-existing foundations of inexplicable antiquity. This layering of civilizations creates a palimpsest of architectural evolution, with later cultures reusing or venerating the work of unknown predecessors. Could the megalithic builders of Baalbek have had access to knowledge now lost either through natural disaster, cultural collapse, or purposeful concealment? Might they have represented a civilization far older than we currently acknowledge, one that operated under different paradigms of science and engineering? Baalbek may never fully give up its secrets. Its stones remain silent, unmoved for millennia, defying time, war, and erosion. But in their stillness, they speak volumes about the hubris of assuming we have all the answers. They remind us that our ancestors were capable of wonders far beyond what history books admit, and perhaps even beyond what we can yet understand. In the end, the builders of Baalbek remain anonymous. No name, no record, no tool. Only their legacy, a feat of impossible scale precision, beyond reason, and a silent question chiseled into stone. How did they do it? Before Sumerian myths, before the Towers of Babylon, there existed a civilization far older and far stranger. This was the Ubaid culture, a prehistoric society that built temples, dug irrigation canals, and laid the groundwork for civilization. But what sets them apart isn't their architecture. It's the eerie presence of lizard-headed humanoid figurines. Unlike any known deity, these beings have cold, inhuman features, as if they came from another world. Who were they? Gods, symbols, or remnants of an undocumented encounter? Let's uncover the unsolved mystery. The Ubaid culture and the lizard-headed figurines dating back as far as 6,500 BCE. The Ubaid culture is one of the earliest known settled societies in Mesopotamia. Unlike their hunter-gatherer predecessors, the Ubaid people built permanent mud brick homes, created organized villages, and practiced large-scale irrigation agriculture. A remarkable achievement for such an early period. Sites like Eridu, Al-Ubaid, until we reveal evidence of sophisticated social hierarchies, division of labor, and even early temple structures. The Ubaid culture thrived for nearly 3,000 years and left behind a legacy that profoundly influenced later civilizations, particularly the Sumerians. At the core of Ubaid society was not only agriculture, but also emerging religious and political power centers. The temples, often simple rectangular buildings at first, gradually evolved into monumental religious complexes that would later inspire the ziggurats of Sumer. These were not merely places of worship, but hubs of administration, trade, and governance. The fact that such institutions existed so early suggests a remarkable level of social organization and perhaps even early theocratic rule. Graves and housing remains point to class divisions, with elites possibly controlling surplus crops, ritual practices, and the workforce. This transition from egalitarian community to stratified society is a major hallmark of human civilization, and it may have begun with the Ubaid. Amid the tools, pottery, and domestic relics uncovered from Ubaid archaeological sites, a peculiar class of artifacts stands out. Small humanoid figurines with reptilian features. First discovered in the 20th century, these figurines depict beings with slender bodies, elongated skulls, wide almond-shaped eyes, and pointed snouts, not unlike lizards or snakes. Some figures appear to be wearing helmets or headdresses. Others are shown in poses suggestive of ritual or caregiving. One notable example features a lizard-headed female suckling a baby with a similar reptilian head. These statues are unlike anything found in later Mesopotamian art. They do not depict known deities from Sumer, Akkad, or Babylon. They do not conform to human aesthetics. Instead, they remain alien both literally and figuratively. Most archaeologists interpret the figurines through a traditional anthropological lens. They suggest the statues might represent fertility goddesses, guardian spirits, or mythological creatures. The exaggerated features, elongated heads, large eyes might be stylistic, akin to how other ancient cultures emphasize certain traits for spiritual or symbolic purposes. Others propose that the figurines reflect shamanic transformation rituals wherein priests or medicine people symbolically became animals or spirits. This type of reptilian imagery might symbolize power, rebirth as reptiles shed their skin, or a spiritual connection with natural forces. But there's a limit to how far symbolic explanation can go, especially when the same type of strange figure appears across different UBES sites, always with the same reptilian form and pose. Why did a society obsessed with agriculture and social order also spend time creating dozens of statues of lizard people? The Ubed cultural sphere was not confined to one city or region. Their influence spread from southern Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, into parts of what is now Syria, Iran, and the Persian Gulf. Pottery styles, architectural patterns, and religious motifs consistent with Ubed designs have been found across this wide area. This widespread influence shows that the Ubed were not isolated farmers. They were cultural transmitters connected via trade routes, and possibly even religious pilgrimages. Their expansionist reach made their symbolic language, including the lizard figurines, potentially more than just local myth. It may have been part of a broader belief system recognized across early Mesopotamia. Here lies the heart of the mystery. The lizard-headed figurines have long inspired alternative. Researchers, UFO theorists, and fringe archaeologists who believe the Ubaid people may have encountered or depicted extraterrestrial beings. In this narrative, the figurines are not symbols, but records, actual attempts to portray non-human entities who once walked among early humans. Proponents of this theory cite the following consistent reptilian features across numerous sites suggest these were not mythical inventions, but depictions of real beings. The figure's strange costumes and poses including apparent technology or headgear could indicate non-human origin. The lack of any clear mythological framework or explanation for the statues in later Mesopotamian texts suggests they belong to an earlier forgotten stratum of belief or contact. Some go even further to connect the Ubaid reptilian statues to global myths of serpent gods, dragons, and reptilian deities found in Mesoamerican, Asian, and African cultures. Could all these be echoes of a single prehistoric event or encounter with a now-lost race of beings? Others tie the lizard beings to the Anunnaki, the mysterious gods from the sky described in later Sumerian tablets. In some versions of the Anunnaki myth, these gods engineered humanity for labor. Could the reptilian figures represent early intermediaries or the gods themselves in another form? While these ideas are not supported by mainstream academia, they continue to grow in popularity, not only because of their intrigue, but because no definitive explanation has been provided. What about you? If you were standing before these strange figurines, what would you think? Are they simply artistic creations? Or could they be a form of collective memory of an encounter lost to history? Do you believe the Ubed people were depicting a belief system, a myth, or a reality that once occurred? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your theory might just open up an entirely new perspective on this mystery. Mainstream scholars remain deeply skeptical of alien theories. They warn against ancient astronaut explanations, citing a lack of contextual evidence. Many Ubaid sites are only partially excavated, and few inscriptions accompany the figurines, making their meaning speculative. Still, even cautious archaeologists admit the figurines are strikingly anomalous. Unlike later Mesopotamian deities who are well-documented and described in texts, the Ubaid reptilians remain mute and contextless. One significant mystery: why did the style of figurine vanish entirely with the rise of Sumer? If they were religious symbols, why weren't they absorbed or reinterpreted like so many others? Their disappearance suggests either a break in cultural continuity or a deliberate purge of earlier beliefs. Whether viewed as symbolic figures, shamanic relics, or visitors from beyond, the Ubaid lizard-headed figurines represent one of the most enduring mysteries of early civilization. They challenge our assumptions about human development, early religious expression, and the limits of archaeological interpretation. Even if we reject the alien hypothesis, we are left with an unsettling truth. An advanced ancient culture rich in innovation and spirituality deliberately carved images of beings that don't look like us and left no written explanation why. That silence is perhaps the most powerful statement of all. On the windswept hills of the Andean highlands, where the air is thin and time hangs heavy in the clouds, a colossal structure still stands tall as if carved from the very spine of the earth. Sakaivamun, towering stone walls, jagged like sawar teeth. Each block weighing hundreds of tons, fitted together flawlessly without a drop of mortar. No machines, no wheels, no modern technology. Yet every stone is placed with near microscopic precision, so tightly joined that not even a razor blade can slip between them. Who built this wonder? Was it the Insur or the invisible hands of a long-lost prehistoric civilization? Was it ancient craftsmanship or a secret that even today's engineers and archaeologists are still desperately trying to uncover? Sakayan is more than a fortress. It is a stone puzzle of physics, a challenge modern science has yet to solve. And the deeper we explore this monument, the more we realize. Perhaps our ancestors once knew things that we have since forgotten. Among all the wonders left behind by ancient civilizations, the stoneworking techniques at Sakai Huaman may be the greatest mystery that challenges modern science. Each block at the site weighs between 80 and over 200 tons. Yet they are carved and fitted with incredible precision to the point where not even a hair or razor blade can be inserted between the joints. Strangely, no two stones are alike. Each one has a unique shape. Yet, they're all sculpted to fit perfectly with the surrounding blocks, like a massive asymmetrical, three-dimensional puzzle. So, how did they cut the stone? The Insur had no steel, no modern cutting tools. They only had tools made from stone, wood, and soft copper materials that are virtually incapable of shaping extremely hard rocks like andite or diorite, which make up most of the walls. Some scholars have proposed a bold hypothesis that the Inca, or perhaps a civilization predating them, may have possessed a lost technique for softening stone, possibly using a chemical compound derived from local plants. Although no concrete archaeological evidence has confirmed this, the outstanding precision of each joint, far ahead of its time, has led many to believe that some forgotten method once existed, one that may surpass even our current technological understanding. One of the most astonishing features of Sakayan is its ability to withstand powerful earthquakes without using any binding mortar. The massive stone blocks were stacked without any adhesive materials, yet they have remained structurally sound for centuries, even in a region frequently hit by strong seismic activity. While many modern buildings collapse under such pressure, the walls of Sakai Huaman have remained virtually unscathed. The reason lies in their remarkably intelligent design. The stones are irregularly shaped and interlocked using a complex three-dimensional locking technique. This structure allows seismic energy to be dispersed in multiple directions rather than being concentrated at a single fragile point, as in conventional architecture. Additionally, The walls are constructed in a zigzag pattern with slightly bulging and slanted outer surfaces, which enables the stones to move slightly within a controlled range during shaking without toppling the overall structure. This is considered a form of earthquake-resistant engineering far ahead of its time, to the extent that many modern engineers and architects still cannot fully replicate or explain how it actually works. One of the most debated questions surrounding Sakowin is, how did ancient people manage to transport stone blocks weighing hundreds of tons across rugged mountain terrain from quarries located dozens of kilometers away from the main site? The Inca did not use wheels, had no carts, and lacked draft animals strong enough to haul such massive stones over steep mountain passes. Some scholars suggest they may have taken advantage of wooden ramps, ropes, primitive pulleys, or even used slippery mud during the rainy season to slide the stones. However, no practical reconstruction has ever successfully recreated the entire process, especially the part involving pulling massive stones uphill at altitudes over 3,500 m above sea level, a challenge that would strain even modern machinery. This lack of a feasible explanation has led many researchers to ask a deeper question. Could it be that the Inca were merely the final users of a much older structure built during an era we have yet to identify? If so, the stone-moving techniques seen at Sakowin may be the surviving legacy of a prehistoric civilization with knowledge and capabilities far beyond what modern science can currently imagine. Do you think the Inca truly built Sakowin on their own, using only manual techniques? Or were they simply the inheritors of an ancient civilization with lost technology? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to know which theory you believe. It wasn't just about cutting or transporting stone. What truly makes the construction techniques at Sakowin extraordinary is the use of a three-dimensional interlocking principle, a level of spatial geometry that even modern engineers find astonishing. The stone blocks were not randomly stacked. Instead, they were tightly fitted along multiple contact surfaces like interlocking teeth in a naturally engineered system. Notably, none of the stones have a standard shape. They are not cubes or rectangular blocks. Each one is uniquely carved to fit perfectly with 5, 8, or even more than 10 other stones at complex angles, sloped faces, and irregular inclines. This intricate arrangement creates a unified structural mass, solid as if cast in one piece, capable of withstanding both time and seismic forces. Today, replicating such uneven yet perfectly snug joints would require advanced 3D modeling software, demonstrating that these ancient builders possess not only extraordinary craftsmanship, but also a master-level understanding of spatial geometry. Local legends claim that the stones of Sakowin could move on their own or were sung to in order to make them lighter. While these tales sound fantastical, the structure's very existence, so far beyond known ancient methods, has kept such stories alive for generations. Modern researchers like Eric von Denken and Brian Fair have raised questions about a pre-Inca super civilization, possibly one that had advanced knowledge of physics, geology, or unknown technologies now lost to time. Sakowin may be only the visible tip of a buried legacy, a remnant of a forgotten chapter in human history. Regardless of who built it or when, Sakowin stands as a monument to the extraordinary capabilities of ancient humanity. Instead of overpowering nature, the builders worked with it, using the landscape as part of the design, crafting a structure built to endure the ages. Sakowin is not just a fortress. It is not just architecture. It is a declaration of how far human will, intelligence, and intuition can go. And perhaps it is also a quiet reminder. We may not yet fully understand those who came before us, stumbling upon a sunken world carved in stone, a place where geometry defies erosion, where stairs lead to nowhere and right-angled walls rise from the seafloor like the ruins of a forgotten city. This is Unani, a submerged monument so precise, so massive that it challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient engineering. Discovered in 1986, This colossal structure lies hidden beneath 25 m of ocean stretching over 100 m long. It's perfectly straight. Edges, intricate platforms, and symmetrical passageways have sparked an international debate. Was it crafted by nature or by the hands of a civilization lost to time? If the answer is the latter, then humanity may have to rewrite its entire history. Because whoever built Yonaguni did so with a level of precision, planning, and power that should have been impossible for the ancient world. And yet the stone remains silent, immovable, waiting for someone to understand it. Were these underwater architects real? Or is this nature's most convincing illusion? Let's descend into the mystery. Among all the mysteries that swirl around Yonani, none is more captivating than the apparent sophistication of its construction. If the monument is indeed man-made, then it represents an unfathomable leap in prehistoric engineering, one that predates even the pyramids of Egypt and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia. Firstly, the sheer scale of the structure is extraordinary. Massive stone blocks, some estimated to weigh several tons, appear to be aligned in tiers, as if forming a ziggurat-like temple. The edges of these blocks are strikingly straight. The angles between surfaces are often 90 degrees, creating perfectly rectangular formations and staircases that descend with precision. There are also step platforms, wide flat terraces, and what looks like an amphitheater, suggesting intentional architectural planning. Even more astonishing is the suggestion that these blocks may have been cut or carved on site from bedrock. But if this is true, what kind of tools or methods did the builders use? No metal tools from the supposed time period have been recovered nearby. Furthermore, the monument is submerged, meaning it would have been built before sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age, roughly 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. That would push Yonaguni's construction back to a time when mainstream history tells us humans were little more than hunter-gatherers. Could a society at that time have possessed stone carving techniques so precise that they could produce this level of craftsmanship? Could they have possessed some lost knowledge of measurement, geometry, and structural integrity that allowed them to build enduring monuments from solid rock without cranes, pulleys, or iron tools? The monument also includes a curious feature often referred to as the Grand Staircase, a broad set of steps that descend in even rectangular increments. Alongside are what appear to be ramp-like structures, and in some places channels or drainage grooves that look artificially shaped. Some researchers believe these indicate not only architectural knowledge, but also an understanding of hydrology, perhaps designed to divert water or symbolically represent natural elements. If true, such planning shows engineering foresight that should not have existed in the Stone Age. Do you think prehistoric humans truly possessed advanced technology to create massive structures like Yonani? Or is this just nature's random creation that we're trying to interpret through a modern lens? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to know which side of the debate you're on. Skeptics, particularly from the geological community, argue that the Yonani monument is a natural sandstone formation shaped by ocean currents and tectonic activity. They point to the layering of sedimentary rock, which naturally fractures along plains, forming right-angled features. In other words, nature mimicked architecture through the forces of erosion. But this view does not satisfy all observers. Critics of the geological explanation argue that the regularity and layout of the structure go beyond what erosion could produce. In particular, the symmetry of the monument, the presence of seemingly carved channels and steps, and features that resemble entryways, altars, and plazas defy easy classification as mere natural formations. Moreover, researchers such as Professor Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus, have devoted years of study to the site. Kimura claims that the monument includes stone tools, quarry marks, and even petroglyphs, carvings that suggest human involvement. His team has mapped out areas they believe were shrines, roads, and castle walls, arguing that Yonaguni may be the remnant of a lost city, perhaps even Mu, the mythical sunken continent of the Pacific. One of the biggest challenges in proving human involvement at Yonaguni is the absence of direct artifacts. No bones, no pottery, no confirmed tools have been retrieved from the monument itself. This absence leads many scholars to dismiss the idea of an ancient civilization outright. However, others argue that the immense age of the structure, if it indeed predates recorded history by several millennia, may explain the lack of preserved artifacts, organic materials, and would decompose over time, especially in marine environments. If the city was submerged suddenly, perhaps by an earthquake or tsunami, its inhabitants may have fled, taking items with them or leaving nothing behind to fossilize. The erosion timeline also supports this possibility. If the monument sank beneath the waves during the rapid sea level rise at the end of the Ice Age, then any evidence of human activity may now lie buried beneath sediment or may have been swept away by currents centuries ago. If the Yonani monument is truly artificial, then it may represent a missing chapter of human history, one where early cultures had access to advanced stone masonry, possibly passed down through oral traditions or lost entirely during cataclysms. The mathematical precision, the scale, and the potential symbolic layout suggest not just utility, but spiritual or ceremonial significance. This opens the door to wild yet captivating possibilities. Was Yonani part of a network of ancient port cities across what is now submerged land? Was it a ceremonial site aligned with celestial bodies similar to Stonehenge or the pyramids? Or was it part of a forgotten civilization that perished in a global flood, remembered in myths from cultures around the world? Perhaps the most unsettling implication of Yonani is this. If such a civilization did exist, then everything we think we know about the timeline of human development from agriculture to architecture to metallurgy must be reevaluated. Whether it is the result of geological coincidence or the work of a pre-flood culture, the Yonani monument continues to challenge our assumptions. The idea that ancient humans could build such a structure underwater without the tools or organizational complexity we associate with civilization demands we look at history with new eyes. To dismiss Yonani outright is to close the door on an opportunity to uncover the forgotten ingenuity of early humanity. Until more evidence is found, until someone deciphers the scars in the stone or retrieves a single indisputable artifact, the mystery will remain. But one thing is clear. If Yonani was built, then its builders were unlike anything we've ever imagined. There was once a civilization said to rival Atlantis. Yet few outside of India have ever heard its name. Kumari Kandam, a continent erased from the maps of mankind, but never forgotten in the memory of the Tamil people. According to legend, it was the cradle of ancient knowledge, the homeland of a superior culture where people understood the stars, healed with herbs, and built cities that modern science still cannot fully explain. But then the ocean swallowed it whole. All that remains are whispered stories and ancient poetry and faint traces beneath the depths of the sea. Kumari Kandam, a buried truth or a warning from the past about knowledge once radiant, now lost to time. According to ancient Tamil texts such as Silappatikaram, Manamakolai, and Kaltokai, Kumari Kandam was once a vast continent stretching deep into the Indian Ocean. Home to prosperous cities, fertile rivers, and abundant lands, it was regarded as the birthplace of sages, scholars, and wise kings, a radiant center of an ancient civilization. However, legend says that a sudden and massive deluge struck, submerging the entire continent and sweeping away countless traces of culture, knowledge, and history, forever buried beneath the ocean's depths. One of the most remarkable aspects of Kumari Kandam is the advanced knowledge and intellectual achievements that this civilization is believed to have attained. According to ancient Tamil tradition, it was the center of 3 major Sangam scholarly assemblies that spanned thousands of years. Academic gatherings where scholars, physicians, poets, and philosophers came together to study and teach. Within these Sangams, disciplines such as natural sciences, astronomy, medicine, and anatomy Mathematics, including geometry and arithmetic, civil engineering, and spiritual philosophy, were systematically developed and refined. Descriptions in Tamil literature suggest that Kumari Kandam may have been one of the earliest and most extensive centers of academic learning in human history. With a highly organized, transmissible, and evolving educational structure far surpassing many contemporary civilizations. If Kumari Kandam truly existed and had achieved such a level of scientific advancement, what do you think is the reason why humanity today has no clear evidence of its existence? Was it natural disaster, war, or deliberate concealment? Share your thoughts and comments. You might just offer a new perspective on this ancient mystery. According to legend, Kumari Kandam once possessed vast libraries that housed hundreds of thousands of manuscripts written in ancient Tamil, a massive and well-organized system of knowledge preservation. These texts were not limited to poetry or philosophy. They also contained highly practical technical knowledge from herbal medicine and clinical treatments to the design of irrigation systems, natural cooling techniques, and architecture and astronomical instruments used for tracking lunar and solar calendars. These records suggest that Kumari Kandam was not only a cultural hub, but also a civilization that knew how to preserve, expand, and transmit its knowledge. Much like the role of the Library of Alexandria in ancient Egypt. Not limited to theory, the knowledge of Kumari Kandam is believed to have been applied directly to daily life with remarkable sophistication. They engineered complex underground water systems to collect and distribute rainwater to residential areas, a form of sustainable irrigation that many modern regions still seek to replicate. In the field of medicine, they developed cider medicine, a holistic healing system based on herbs, minerals, and natural balance using over 2,000 types of remedies, which is still practiced in Tamil Nadu today. Their architectural techniques also reflected high technical skill. They knew how to use natural materials to construct well-ventilated, heat-resistant buildings adapted to tropical climates. Remarkably, some ancient texts even suggest knowledge of solar energy, natural electricity, and Earth's magnetic fields, leading some modern scholars to believe that the people of Kumari Kandam may have developed semi-mechanical devices powered by water or wind far ahead of their time. According to surviving texts from the 3rd Sangam period, the people of Kumari Kandam are believed to have possessed astronomical knowledge far ahead of their time. They had a clear understanding of the orbital cycles of planets and created calendars based on lunar phases and the sun's trajectory, which allowed for precise agricultural planning and the timing of religious rituals. Notably, they are said to have built sky-watching instruments similar to primitive telescopes to observe key stars. Several submerged stone structures off the coast of Tamil Nadu have been found to align directly with stars like Canopus and Aldebaran, suggesting that their astronomical expertise may have rivaled that of ancient Egyptian and Mayan civilizations. One of the most intriguing and mysterious aspects of the Kumari Kandam legend is the hypothesis of an advanced communication system between its ancient cities believed to operate using vibrational sound waves or unique energy frequencies. Some accounts claim that the inhabitants could send signals across great distances without relying on fire, smoke, or messengers, suggesting the existence of a drum-based signaling network or even a form of early wireless communication based on acoustic resonance or magnetic fields. Although no concrete physical evidence has been found, several ancient carved stone slabs feature shapes that resemble circuit diagrams or antenna-like symbols, prompting researchers to question, are these merely decorative motifs or remnants of a forgotten prehistoric technology? The greatest tragedy of Kumari Kandam's intellectual legacy is the near-total disappearance of its ancient records after the cataclysmic flood. The first 2 Sangam assemblies, especially the Great Sangam, are believed to have been completely destroyed, taking with them hundreds of thousands of invaluable manuscripts. Only the 3rd Sangam held a Maduri left behind a handful of scattered texts, most of which are damaged or incomplete. What remains is merely the tiny visible tip of an iceberg. Beneath it lies an entire ocean of knowledge buried by time. Today, Indian researchers are actively working to digitize and decode the surviving ancient Tamil manuscripts in hopes of recovering some of the lost knowledge from the era of Kumari Kandam. At the same time, numerous underwater surveys have been conducted off the coast of Tamil Nadu, particularly near the ancient city of Pampaha. There, divers and experts have discovered submerged stone structures, including rows of aligned megalithic pillars and constructions resembling ancient astronomical observatories. These findings have led many to believe that the physical remnants of Kumari Kandam may still lie silently beneath the ocean, waiting to be uncovered. Did Kumari Kandam really exist? Or is it merely a cultural metaphor, an allegory of a forgotten golden age of human intellect? Whether factual or mythical, its legacy compels us to ask, are we truly the first modern civilization? Or are we merely walking atop the fragmented genius of ancestors long forgotten by time? A civilization erased from history, yet their monumental structures still stand in the heart of our modern world. Imagine this. Across today's major cities, New York, Moscow, Paris, stand colossal buildings, fortress-like in strength with domes, towering columns, and massive designs so advanced even modern engineers are left baffled. But who built them? When? And with what technology? The official explanation: 18th century citizens. But growing numbers believe that's just a convenient story crafted to cover up a far greater truth. A truth once printed on ancient maps under the name Tartaria. More than just a forgotten empire, Tartaria, according to many theories, was a global civilization of engineers, possessing architectural knowledge far ahead of its time, leaving behind structures we still can't fully explain. And then it vanished. No grand war, no clear historical record, only buildings half buried in mud, doors that opened below ground level, and one haunting question no one dares to answer. What really happened to Tartaria? On many maps from the 17th to 19th centuries, the name Great Tatari or Tataria clearly dominates much of the Asian continent from Siberia and Kazakhstan stretching through what is now China and Mongolia and even extending into parts of Eastern Europe. Yet by the 20th century, Tataria had vanished completely. No explanation, no logical renaming of territories. Independent researchers began asking, could there have been a vast advanced civilization that was erased from history? And if so, do traces of it still linger in our modern world? One of the most shocking and haunting aspects of the Tartaria theory is the existence of colossal, intricate architectural structures found all over the world, yet completely inconsistent with the technological capabilities of their supposed era. Just look at the old train stations in New York, the grand opera houses in Paris, the National Library in Melbourne, or the castles and government buildings in Russia. They all share unbelievable features. Massive stone and brick frameworks weighing hundreds of tons, gigantic neoclassical columns, towering domes, and incredibly detailed decorative elements executed with almost perfect symmetry. Today, such precision can only be replicated using advanced technology like laser cutters or CNC machines. And yet official history tells us these structures were built in the 18th to 19th centuries by poor immigrants with no cranes, no industrial concrete, and not even knowledge of steam engines. This raises immediate questions. Who designed these perfectly proportioned domes? How are multi-tonon stone blocks lifted into place? And why do so many of these buildings already include built-in natural ventilation systems, anti-vibration mechanisms, and load-bearing calculations so precise that even modern engineers are astonished? According to many Tartarian researchers, the only reasonable answer is these buildings do not belong to the historical era we've been told. They predate it and are remnants of a forgotten civilization of master engineers. What do you think about these monumental structures? Were they truly built by people of the modern era? Or could they be remnants of a long-lost civilization of master engineers? Share your thoughts and theories below. Do you lean toward the official explanation? Or do you believe there's a hidden version of history we're not being told? One of the most astonishing patterns is the consistent style and structure among Tartarian buildings across the globe. From stations in America to castles in Russia, from libraries in South Africa to museums in Mexico, they share eerily similar traits. Perfectly aligned symmetrical axes, arches, spires, and natural airflow systems, high central domes that resemble energy receivers, heavy influence of frequency architecture, sacred geometry, the golden ratio. Fibonacci sequences. This consistency suggests that Tartaria wasn't just a single country. It was a global engineering civilization unified by a shared design, language, technology base, and purpose. Many public buildings we today label as European classical architecture actually have abnormally deep foundations, buried lower floors, and numerous illogical design choices for the era they're said to belong to. For instance, entrances located below ground-level windows, partially buried beneath soil walls so thick, sometimes up to 2 m, that they defy practical explanation. Independent researchers argue these anomalies aren't the result of renovations or design quirks. They're evidence of a global event that submerged lower levels, hiding the structure's true origins. Some independent researchers believe that architectural elements such as domes, spires, and copper roofs in Tartarian structures were not merely decorative, but actually functioned as technological devices for collecting and transmitting energy. According to this theory, the Tartarians may have discovered how to harness free energy from the ionosphere, a natural energy layer in the atmosphere that modern science has yet to fully utilize. By designing buildings according to the principles of harmonic resonance and sacred geometry, they could have transmitted energy wirelessly over long distances, similar to what Nikola Tesla once envisioned. Additionally, conductive materials like copper and silver were deliberately integrated into the architecture, acting as energy. Conducting circuits. In other words, Tartarian buildings may not have been ordinary structures at all, but rather vertical machines, massive technological devices disguised as architecture. The biggest question remains, if Tartaria really existed, why don't we know about it? The common answer: deliberate historical erasure. In the 19th century, the world saw massive wars, geopolitical shifts, and power restructurings. Erasing the legacy of an advanced civilization may have served to consolidate new ruling powers, suppress the knowledge of free energy technologies, reframe human history into a controlled narrative. One of the key hypotheses in the Tartaria theory is the mudflood event, a massive catastrophe, possibly natural or man-made, believed to have occurred in the late 18th or early 19th century. According to this theory, a tremendous surge of mud swept across many major cities, completely burying the lower levels of ancient buildings. The evidence cited includes doorways and windows now located below present-day ground level, basement width, ceilings decorated like grand halls, and staircases that once led downward now only going up. Many believe this was not merely a natural disaster, but potentially a deliberate act of historical erasure designed to conceal the true existence of the Tartarian civilization. Whether you believe in Tartaria or not, the theory challenges our understanding of history. Are there truths we've never been taught in school? Could humanity once have reached technological heights we now think impossible? And if so, why? Was it all wiped away?